Hey everyone, this is a really quick PowerPoint on energy flow. We're going to be covering it in class. Whenever you see me again, go ahead and take out your power notes. If you do have a pair of scissors at home, go ahead and cut all those lines that are connecting your hexagons, and we're going to fold along the dotted lines that are in the center. If my words are confusing, there is a picture on the slide to show you what to do. If you don't have a pair of scissors at home, you'll be doing this tomorrow during your bell ringer and taping it into your notebook. So don't panic. All right, so let's get started. First thing you're going to be doing is watching a really quick video from The Lion King, and you'll be taking a one-question quiz. All right, so the very first thing we're going to be talking about is a food chain. And what exactly is a food chain? Well, a food chain is a series of steps in which organisms transfer energy by eating and by being eaten, okay? You can write this definition right underneath food chain in the center of your power notes where it says food chains. And what exactly do I mean by these series of steps? Well, the very first part of the food chain is going to be a producer. And producers are plants, algae, bacteria, anything that's going to perform photosynthesis is considered a producer. And so because they're performing photosynthesis, they're obviously getting their energy from the sun. So we're going to start at the sun, we're going to follow that arrow to the right, and we're going to be writing producer and any of the notes that are related to what a producer actually is. So a producer is always going to be the very first step in our food chain. And then we're going to move a step up, okay? And so these producers are going to transfer energy by being eaten to the next level on the food chain. And the next level on the food chain are going to be our primary consumers. All right, now these are what we call herbivores. All right, herbivores are animals that eat plants, and so every single primary consumer we have in every single food chain on the planet is going to be an herbivore. Our primary consumers, the very first consumers in our food chain, are always going to be eating our plants or producers. So we're transferring energy from the producer to our primary consumers or our herbivores. So then after this, our next step in the food chain, we're going to be transferring energy upwards towards our secondary consumers. Now, these are carnivores that specifically eat herbivores. Okay, so in our example, if you look all the way to the left, those pictures, we got a plant as our producer, a caterpillar as our primary consumer, the thing that is eating the plant, an herbivore, and then our secondary consumer is going to be our birds, which are carnivores that eat insects, or in our case, caterpillars. And remember, notice our arrows are continually pointing to the next consumer because we're transferring energy from one consumer to the next to the next. All right, as I am eaten, as a caterpillar is eaten, I'm transferring energy to the thing that ate me. All right, so now our next step in the food chain is going to be a transfer of energy to the next level of consumer, or the tertiary consumer. All right, tertiary consumers are carnivores that eat other carnivores. So hawks eat smaller birds. Okay, they're kind of like cannibals that way. So we're talking about carnivores that are going to be eating other carnivores. And if we notice, we're going in a stepwise we're going upwards in a step-like fashion. We're going from producer, and then we go 1, 2, third level consumer. Okay, so first level consumer, secondary consumer, second level consumer, into our third level consumer, or tertiary consumer. All right, we should have went all the way around the circle by now. All right, you should have one little box left next to the sun. All right, and we're going to talk about those organisms in just a second. All right, so let's talk about trophic levels. Okay, what exactly is a trophic level? Well, so really, trophic actually means it refers to food. Okay, the troph part of the word refers to food. So whenever we talk about a trophic level, we're literally talking about a feeding level, all right, or a food level. So this is any position that an organism occupies in a food web or food chain. Okay, when it comes to the trophic level notes, you can write them anywhere on that piece of paper where you got some room, where it'll make sense. I would personally write it in the center, but if you don't have any space in there, you can write it in anywhere in the surrounding page. All right. So let's talk about those trophic levels as it relates to the food chain we just talked about. All right. So my first trophic level are going to be producers. Now, another word for a producer is an autotroph. Okay. Remember, troph means food. So if I put the word auto in front of food, that means I am doing it myself, just like an automatic car switches gears all by itself. An autotroph produces food all by itself. It can feed itself. All right, so my trophic level 1 are always going to be my producers. Then I'm going to go up in my food chain to the trophic level 2. Well, these are going to be my primary or first consumer. Okay, these are called heterotrophs. All right, that means I need something else to feed me. Okay, remember, troph means feeding, hetero means different, so I need something different to feed me. I got to eat something. All right, heterotroph is the same thing as a consumer. So then my next trophic level is obviously my trophic level 3, which are going to be my secondary consumers. Remember, these are my carnivores who are eating herbivores. And then my very last trophic level is trophic level 4. We'll talk about tertiary consumers. And these are my carnivores who eat other carnivores. These are usually apex predators. All right. So now let's talk about what the difference is between a food chain and a food web. So what exactly is a food web? Well, as you can see by your picture, it's going to be several different food chains put together. All right, food webs are actually the best way for us to see how organisms interact with each other in an ecosystem and the different paths energy can take in an ecosystem as well. So all of these different arrows you see all over the place are different food chains that we put together to create a food web. So if we start with our producers, let's say algae, it's in the bottom left hand corner. If we start with algae right down here, all right, and we go upwards to and follow the arrow to the thing that is eating the algae. Let's say we go to this thing called flagfish. All right, then I'm going to follow flagfish. All right, that's my primary consumer, and it's going to be eaten by a largemouth bass. Now this is my secondary consumer. Okay, it's a carnivore that's eating an herbivore. All right, now my largemouth bass is going to be eaten by this really large bird called an anhinga. All right, this is my carnivore who eats another carnivore. So this is my tertiary consumer. Okay, now notice how all of my tertiary consumers in this food web are going upwards to a vulture. Okay, a vulture is going to be our decomposer. That's the very last box you're filling out in your circle, a decomposer. All arrows in the food web leads to the decomposers. The decomposers are our great recyclers. They're taking all of this energy that we are transferring all over our food web, and they're actually going to transform it into energy that our plants can use once again. So remember, energy is never created or destroyed, it's just transformed. All right. Anytime we have any kind of disturbance in the food web, we're going to have some pretty interesting effects. So for example, if I remove the alligator, all right, what do you think will happen to the population of the pig frog? Well, if there are no more alligators eating the frog, well, the population of the frogs are probably going to increase. Now, if the population of frogs are going to increase, what's going to happen to the crayfish? Well, frogs eat the crayfish, right? And if I have more frogs, well, we're going to be eating more crayfish. So this population is actually going to decrease. And if this population is decreasing, well, now I have all this bacteria that the crayfish aren't eating anymore, and they're going to increase. All right, they're going to increase. And this is going to be a very unbalanced food chain. And don't forget, in a food web, all of these chains are going to be connected. So if the pig frog population goes up, guess what's going to happen to the anhinga population? That's also going to go up. All right. And if the pig population goes up, well, the killfish, which the pig frog is eating, is going to go down. And we're going to see all these different types of increases and decreases in population happen all over our food web. All right. So any kind of disturbance, all right, us killing too many alligators, or the bobcats going extinct, or people who don't like raccoons because they're pests. Well, if we're killing all the raccoons, we're going to actually have an effect on the entire food web. All right, so that's the end of our note taking. Okay, don't forget, you should have put decomposer in that last box next to the sun on the left hand side. We're going to have about 5 quick questions after this one that you can do on your own, and we'll see you guys in class the next time we see you.